Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video on my 2.0T FSI engine. Today we're going to be tackling another new first for me, the timing belt and the water pump. So let's get to it. Okay, so as I said before, this isn't something I've done in the past. So this is quite exciting, we'll all learn together. I'll talk you through the steps that I think we need to do and then we'll see if I've missed any as we go along the way. Obviously, if you'd have seen in my last video, which I'll stick a little link up here, where I did the thermostat, I've already removed the alternator. So that would probably be step one, almost, one of the first steps at least. What we're also going to do, we're going to remove this engine mount. I think I'm just going to be able to do it with the three 16mm bolts that are in here. Obviously, if you're doing this in the car, you'll probably need to take this one out first, get that out of the way. From what I've read, this engine mount is a bit of a pain to get out when it's in the car, but obviously we won't be facing that issue today. So yeah, we'll remove the engine mount, remove this top timing cover, we'll remove the bottom timing cover, and then we'll figure it out from there. Then we need to kind of get it in time, then we need to mark the belt, and then we need to do some other stuff. So let's get the easy bits done first, and then we'll figure out the hard stuff as we go along. Okay, so as I said, the first step is going to be removing this engine mount. We have 1, 2, and 3 16mm bolts. Engine mount removed. There are 2 T30s that hold on this upper timing cover. With that top timing cover out of the way now, we can get to the first look at our timing belt. I mean, it looks in fairly good shape. I think I've got no service history with this car. It was bought from a salvage auction, which I think 90% of the time they come without service history, but it doesn't look terrible, I don't think, but we're doing it anyway while we're in here. I think it's also fairly obvious that this isn't the first cam belt change it's had, which is good, because there's a little paint pen mark there on the timing mark. So from what I understand, we don't necessarily need to get the engine to top dead center or anything like that to change the timing belt, because we are just going to be marking the belt and putting it back on in exactly the same place it was. But on the top cam, we can see that we do have a little timing mark. It's kind of cut out on the sprocket. And then there's also this little arrow over here. So I'm just going to mark that a little bit clearer for us all to see on video. There is also the same kind of arrangement on the bottom, but we're obviously going to lose this mark when we remove this lower cover. So we've got a little mark there, and then again there's a little cutout on the pulley just about there. So we'll rotate the engine a little bit, get it in time. We'll get it at the top of the centre at least. Crack on from there. Okay, so the first bit of good news is this engine was in time at least beforehand. So we've got our mark lining up directly with our little slit on the pulley there, as you can see. And then exactly the same on the bottom. Got our mark, our little slit on the back there, all matching up. So we're happy now that this engine is properly timed. So we're happy just to mimic exactly the same settings from this belt onto the new belt. So let's start whipping off the bottom half. So we need to remove this pulley, and then we need to remove this bottom cover. Okay, so the bottom pulley bolts, there are 6 of them in here. These are all M10s. We need to remove all of those. I've also got replacements for these. Obviously, if you was to try and attack it with a ratchet or something, you'd need to hold, counter hold the crank. I think you can do it with the spanner on there, but I've got the impact, so I'm going to just try and whiz them off and hope this all goes okay. Okay, it's quite a tight fit over that main kind of crank bolt, but a couple of blows of a hammer and that comes loose. And also, look, we've got some more evidence here of a nice little paint mark pointing off to our timing mark, which is great. Okay, lower timing cover next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Torque the bolts again and figure out what size they are. Okay, they are again T40. they're also all the same size as well, so no need to worry about where they go back in. And pulls off nicely from there, which then reveals the rest of what we're working with. So today we're going to be replacing the water pump, that roller, and that tensioner. Okay, so I've just done a couple of marks here, one on the top pulley there, and then two on the bottom on that side, and then on the other side. So I think we're going to whip off that tensioner. Well, crack the nut off first, untension it, and then hopefully the belt should fall off. Let's see. Okay, so the tensioner bolt here is a 13. I'm not sure if I've got a new one of these in the kit, so I'll keep this with me. Once that's off, what we should be able to do now with an 8mm Allen key is untension it like that. So roll it back, and you can see the slack is then introduced into the belt. And now, I guess, for the point of no return, right? And that's what your engine looks like without a timing belt. Suddenly very scared. But yeah, I don't know if anyone can tell me. I think that belt looks pretty fine, to be honest. There's no kind of cracking. We're cracking that side. But yeah, let's replace. Actually, let's get this water pump out first. Right, so you can see the water pump here with 3 10mm holding it on. Again, I don't remember seeing water pump bolts in my kit, so I'll be keeping these safe. And then I think with a twist and a tug, there she goes. Okay, so here's my new water pump. Same as the thermostat in the last video, we're just going to use a little bit of coolant to lubricate this O-ring. Remembering the correct orientation of this, you've got your little timing cover mount that kind of goes top left or left. And then I think it's just a case of kind of giving it a little wiggle and a push at the same time, making sure that O-ring is going to seat correctly. Okay, and that's nice and in there. Just make sure it's rotated correctly. Okay, and then we can throw those 10mm bolts back in. We'll thread them in by hand to begin with, make sure we don't do anything silly. And then again, we'll just snug these up. I don't know the torque settings, but they're not massively high. Calibrated wrist once again. Okay, then we have 2 rollers, here and here. Let's go and get those out of the box. So we have some nice colour-coded rollers. We've got the orange one at the top, which I've got here, and then a black one at the bottom, which is here. There does seem to be some hardware in here as well, so I'm guessing we'll be replacing these bolts. Let's start with the top one and see what we've got. So this top one is a 13. And again, just paying attention to the orientation that it came out. So you can see that this kind of spacery bit is at the back, not at the front. Okay, so we'll just thread this new tensioner back in, new roller back in. Sorry. And I think the torque spec of this is quite low, like 15 or something like that, but about that, I reckon. Okay, the lower roller is a 12. The lower roller doesn't seem to have a particular orientation, so we're just going to guess and see what happens. Again, threading it in by hand first. This one, from memory, I think the torque was a little higher. I think maybe 25, but again, we'll just snug it. Okay, so what have we got now then? We've got the new rollers on, got a new water pump on. We've got all of our timing marks on our pulleys. I think it's probably time to now transfer those marks from the old belt over to the new belt, sorry, and slip it on. Scary times. Okay, so what we're basically going to do now is using the old belt and the marks made by the worst paint pen in the world. I can see it. I'm not sure you can see it on the camera. Oh, there it is there. I'm going to transfer that mark to this belt, and then we're going to count the teeth. We're going to count the teeth around to figure out where my next marks are. So let's start with this one. Okay, so we've now transferred our marks. We've got our top one, and then we have our bottom two. They should hopefully match up with our ones that are on the pulleys. Okay, so being careful not to move anything, we're going to start by slipping the time belt over the top pulley, like so. And then on the bottom pulley, put it nice and tight around the water pump. We're going to get that tooth onto there, and that tooth onto there. So at the moment, I know the top one's slipped. Okay, I think that was probably a mistake to put this on without the tensioner. So I'm going to drop the tensioner into place first, and then we'll see if we can faff about and get it all to line up. The tensioner has this kind of ear at the back, which needs to sit in that little hole, which basically allows it to come up and down. Okay, after a little bit of faffing, that tensioner now in, although it's not bolted up or anything yet, we have our top mark lining up how we wanted it to, and then we have our two marks on the bottom perfectly lined up as well. I think what I'm going to do is just put a nut on that tensioner for now. I'm not going to fully tension the belt. We'll give the engine a couple of revolutions and see if we're still good. Right, let's turn the engine over, see what happens. 19mm, 12-sided socket or spanner. Watch our white timing mark at this point. So, that's in time, that's in time. I think we might be okay. Do it again for good luck. one full crank is only half a turn cam. Get back to where that lines up perfectly. That one lines up perfectly. Okay. Just to prove that, we've gone around a few times now. You can see our timing mark that we made earlier on the pulley to the block. That works perfectly. And then our timing mark on the cam to the arrow is perfect as well. Not from that angle, but it is from my angle. Okay, this tensioner, I'm not entirely sure if that's correct. I'm going to put a couple of posts up about this before I do anything too crazy, but I thought, yeah, we had to do something about getting that and that to line up. I mean, the belt feels tight, right? I don't know. Hopefully that's all good. If anyone can tell me any differently before I start this engine, that'd be great. I'm going to do that nut up and then start reassembling. Okay, so having done a bit of research, I do think our tension is okay. So fingers crossed we're all good. I'm going to start reassembling now. I'm going to put the lower timing cover back on, put the crank pulley back on with our new bolts, and yeah, then we'll see where we are. Okay people, lower timing cover going on. Fits quite nicely in there. Kind of just holds itself in place. Remember we've got our 7 T40s from earlier. Okay, now we're going to move to our crank pulley. There's a little kind of dowel, I suppose you call that, there. And then when you look at the pattern, obviously you've got to match up that dowel to that little hole. Get it kind of over the main bolt. And then using our new hardware, we'll snuggle this in. It's nice to see our proper timing mark now back on the pulley and on the cover, matching exactly. And then our timing mark on the cam pulley, which is just this side of the tooth, marking up directly to that arrow as well. Okay, so you're actually going to see me use a torque wrench on these bolts for a change. These are 20 newton meters plus 90 degrees. So we kind of need to counter hold our crank. And obviously we can torque that way. It's not the easiest thing to do, but not too bad. Okay, with them all torqued on properly, we can fit this top timing cover. And again, this is going into plastic, so nothing too crazy on the tightness. Okay, that is timing belt and water pump changed. Now, if you remember in the last video, the alternator was broken. So I'm going to go and whip that off the other car, and then we can put on our new tensioner and belt for that as well. So bear with me a few minutes. Right, now with that alternator swapped over, we can install our new tensioner. Should hopefully be fairly easy. Okay, if you remember, our tension is only held on by 3 13mm bolts, so should just be able to get them in there. And we've got our new belt. Which way does it go though? Does anyone know? Let's try it. Definitely obviously goes around here. Guess it will then go up like that. And onto there. And obviously be tensioned. Does that look to you guys? I think that's about right. Right, so I've checked on my previous video. That is the right way to do it. So we're gonna pull this forward, release our pin, make sure we're happy with all the placements. And there we go. One alternator, belt and tensioner replaced. Okay, last thing to do before we wrap up for today is just get our engine mount back on the side. Those 3 big 16s. And then I think we can call today a success. But yeah, let's put that engine mount on first. Okay, so just wiggle that slightly into place. We can now try and get these bolts started. Well, there you go, guys. We're going to call that a day for today. My first ever timing belt replacement. I think it went okay. We've got a few weeks of anxious waiting now until we can finally put it in the car and do that first start and see if it does all just interfere with itself, let's say. Next episode, I want to try and tackle this timing chain this side, but I'll be honest, I'm very scared. I've heard so many horror stories about rounding the bolt and all that kind of thing, so I'm hoping to do that, and I think now I've said it, I think I have to do it, right? But after that, we can actually start building this engine back up, get the inlet manifold back on. Obviously, if we do this chain, that'll include the rocker cover. We're going to flip it over, do the sump and the pickup pipe, and then give it obviously a full service beforehand. So spark plugs, coils, oil filter, etc. And then I think we're not far away from actually putting it back in the car, which I don't know, mate, scary. But yeah, that'll do us for today. If you've liked what you've seen, if I've managed to help in any way, I'd really appreciate a like, a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, we will see you on the next one, guys. Thank you very much for watching.